Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. Let you recognize the problem so it can be solved. What's good, fam? We made it to lesson 79 of A Course in Miracles. And today we have a very powerful lesson. Today we are going to understand that we think we have many problems on many different levels, whether it be with people or situations, circumstance, events. We think we have many different problems in our lives, and I'm gonna give a little spoiler alert, and we're going to dive deeper into it today's lesson. But the spoiler alert is that we only really have one problem, and that one problem that me and you have is our sense of separation from each other, from all that is, from all who we are, from God, our creator. That's the problem that everyone ever really has. They only believe that they have many problems, and me and you, when we're sleeping, only believe we have many problems, when really the only one is our sense of separation. Now let's dive straight in, so that way we understand this on a deeper level. If you got the book, you already know what to do. If you don't got the book yet, the PDF is in the description, and let's dive straight in. Lesson 79 of A Course in Miracles. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. A problem cannot be solved if you do not know what it is. And before we continue, I just want to mention, pay very close attention to this first paragraph. A problem cannot be solved if you do not know what it is. Even if it is really solved already, you will still have the problem, because you will not recognize that it has been solved. This is the situation of the world. The problem of separation, which is really the only problem, has already been solved, yet the solution is not recognized because the problem is not recognized. So, before we continue, this is what's going on with the world, okay? And we're also in that category because we're here right now. So although we may be in the state of mind, if you're here with me right now, we do fall asleep from time to time, and we believe that we have many problems when our only problem is our sense of separation, and that has already been solved. Me and you are not separate from our creator. We are not separated from each other. We are not separated from anyone or anything. We are one. It's only whenever we believe we're these bodies that we believe we're separate from everyone and everything, but that is just not so. Now, let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. It starts off by saying a problem cannot be solved if you do not know what it is. So what's happening right now is most of us are in this world, and we have many different problems, we believe, but we don't recognize the only one that there really is, which is our separation from who we really are, our sense of separation from who we really are, our belief of separation from who we really are. That's all it is just a belief, but it's not really what's happening here in the larger scheme of things. Me and you are not separate from our creator, from God. We are one with and a part of all that is. Me and you are still as God created us, and so is everyone else, but they do not know what the problem is, and they don't know that it could be solved because they are unaware of what the problem is. They don't think that there is a problem. Now, before we continue, I just want to say this is important to know, because this experience, if you're here with me, that we're having, is what truth feels like. It is what it feels like to be in your natural state of mind. Now, done I've had these conversations with a few people before, and done my best, my very best with words to try to convey this experience that I'm having, but the problem that they have cannot be solved because they don't know what the problem is. They are viewing life through the brown tinted glasses that we talk about every now and then. Now, because I'm talking about this information to them, and they're hearing and perceiving with the brown tinted glasses on, they're only going to see, or not see at all, what they want to perceive, what they're perceiving. And again, I'm going to try to make this not as confusing at all. I'm doing my best to explain the state of mind here to someone else who's not experiencing the state of mind. But it all comes down to, and I'm mentioning this for us as well, whenever we're asleep and we're in our worry and doubt and our fear that we believe that what we made is real. And we believe that we are separate from everyone and everything. Although we don't say those words, and although we're not aware of that, that's what we believe, or else we wouldn't feel like we had many different problems. Now, let's go ahead and dive back in, but just keep everything that we've discussed so far on the top of your mind, and then it will begin to click in place the further we go today. But just know that the problem has been solved already, and it's only in our minds that we believe that there is many problems. Everyone in this world seems to have his own special problems, yet they are all the same and must be recognized as one if the one solution that solves them all is to be accepted. Who can see that a problem has been solved if he thinks the problem is something else? Even if he is given the answer, he cannot see its relevance. That is the position in which you find yourself now. You have the answer, but you are still uncertain about about what the problem is. A long series of different problems seems to confront you, and as one is settled, the next one and the next arise. There seems to be no end to them. There is no time in which you feel completely free of problems and at peace. Wow, this explains a lot about a lot of things. The temptation to regard problems as many is the temptation to keep the problem of separation unsolved. Beautiful. One more time. The temptation to regard problems as many, we think we have many different problems, is the temptation to keep the problem of separation unsolved. Although we believe we have many different problems, at the very core of those problems, if you will, are we believe we're separated. That's always, always, always a problem, whether we see that or not. That's always at the core of any single problem we think we have, is we forgot who we were. We forgot who we are in this moment. We forgot that we are still one with our Creator. That's the only problem anyone could ever have. And whenever you remember that, then you have no problems. The temptation to regard problems as many. Oh, we just read that. The world seems to present you with a vast number of problems, each requiring different answer. This perception places you in a position in which your problem solving must be inadequate, and failure is inevitable. No one can solve all the problems the world appears to hold. They seem to be on so many levels, in such varying forms, and with such varied content that they confront you with an impossible situation. Dismay and depression are inevitable as regard them. Some spring up unexpectedly, just as you think you have resolved the previous ones. Others remain unsolved under a cloud of denial and rise to haunt you from time to time, only to be hidden again but still unsolved. All this complexity is but a desperate attempt not to recognize the problem and therefore to let it be resolved. It's a desperate attempt. The ego, and we're going to use the ego again, that sense of self that we made apart from God, that separate self that we think that we are, is desperately trying to see many different problems so that way we are not seeing the only problem that there really is, which is the ego does not exist. That sense of separation that we've made for ourselves that we call the ego is not really there. It's only a belief, and we are desperately looking for any scrap of evidence that this world can show us that perpetuates our belief system, which is wild. We're working totally against ourselves and not even knowing that we're working against ourselves. Our whole life we have been working against ourselves, and we're unaware that we're doing so. We think we have many different problems, but we're unaware that the only problem that exists is our separation from God, which is really not a problem at all because it has already been healed. It never existed, if you will. It has never existed. It is something that is only a belief in the mind of a creation of God who was created in the image of his creator to create. And we miscreated. And we made this belief of separation that we believe exists when really it's only in our own minds. And whenever we have a miracle, a healed perception, then we will be in the real world again and understand that there is no problems. We are perfectly whole. This world is perfectly whole, and it is only in the identification with the ego that everyone is identifying with that they believe that something's really going on here. in this world. Now, on an even bigger scale, with larger situations going on with the world, like war and stuff like that, if you look at the basis of that, it seems like many different problems. The only problem is that every single individual who is out there arguing and fighting and going against one another is not understanding that they are a part of one another. So they are really harming themselves because they don't understand that the same life that they are is animating that body over there, that is them. They are not these bodies. These physical appearances that we see are really just learning devices. They are not as big of a deal as we make it out to be. And the things of this world are not really as big of a deal as we make it out to be. They are literally nothing. Lesson 1, nothing we see means anything. Lesson 2, me and you have given all the meaning that everything has for us. We have given everything we see all the meaning that it has for us. And we have been projecting our own fear and meaning onto everything, believing that there's a problem when really the only problem there is, and we can't really consider this a problem because it's already been answered because it never occurred, is that we believe we're separate. It's only a belief, and today we are undoing that belief once and for all. Other remain unsolved under a cloud of denial and rise to haunt you from time to time, only to be hidden again but still unsolved. All this complexity is but a desperate attempt not to recognize the problem and therefore not to let it be resolved. If you could recognize that your only problem is separation, no matter what form it takes, you could accept the answer because you would see its relevance. Perceiving the underlying consistency in all the problems that seem to confront you, you would understand that you have the means to solve them all. One more time. Perceiving the underlying consistency in all the problems that seem to confront you, meaning perceiving at the very core of every problem we think we have, it's always separation. And that's just a fact. That is what's going on. It's common sense, but we can't see it because we're viewing from brown tinted shades. So that's all we're perceiving as many when there's only one. Now, we may think we have a problem with a person, situation, circumstance, event, but if we were to perceive at the very core of that problem, if you will, the real issue, it is always separation. And like the Course says, we have the means to solve all of them if we see them for what they really are, which is we believe that we're separated. And whenever we understand that this whole Course right here is here to show us that we are not, then all of those little seeming minor problems have been solved because they never really existed, only in the mind of the beholder. In our longer practice periods today, we will ask what the problem is and what is the answer to it. We will not assume that we already know. We will try to free our minds of all the many different kinds of problems we think we have. We will try to realize that we only have one problem, which we have failed to recognize. We will ask what it is and wait for the answer. We will be told. Then we will ask for the solution to it and we will be told. The exercises for today will be successful to the extent to which you do not insist on defining the problem. So to the extent on which me and you do not insist on defining the problem, that's how successful we will be. The more we insist on defining the problem, the less successful we will be. And the less insistent on defining the problem and allowing it to show itself to us, then we will be more successful because we will understand that it always boils down to separation, which really is not so. It is just an illusion in the mind of the beholder. Perhaps you will not succeed in letting all your perceived notions go, but that is not necessary. All that is necessary is to entertain some doubt about the reality of your version of what your problems are, just some. You are trying to recognize that you have been given the answer by recognizing the problem, so that the problem and the answer can be brought together and you can be at peace. The shorter practice periods for today will not be set by time, but by need. You will see many problems today, each one calling for an answer. Our efforts will be directed towards recognizing that there is only one problem and one answer. In this recognition are all problems solved.
In this recognition, there is peace. Be not deceived by the form of problems today. Whenever any difficulty seems to arise, tell yourself quickly, let me recognize this problem so it can be solved. Something happens with a person. Let me recognize this problem so it can be solved. Something happens with a situation. Let me recognize this problem so it can be solved. Something happens with an event or a circumstance. Let me recognize this problem so it can be solved. And whenever you say that, you are recognizing the problem for what it really is, which is separation. You believe that you are separate from everyone and everything and your creator. I believe that I am separate from everyone and everything and my creator, and I believe that I'm this body. Is that not what all our problems are? Is we believe that we do not have enough when only the body cannot have enough, but the body is not nothing. You and me are whole and perfect and are one with and a part of all that is, meaning no lack could exist ever. But whenever we think we're this body, of course, if this is over there and I'm unable to use that highlighter, I seem to be lacking something, right? But whenever I understand that problem, and whenever I think, okay, my problem right now is that I don't have access to that highlighter, I say, let me recognize this problem so it can be solved. And I recognize that the only problem that there exists is not the highlighter, but it is the sense of separation that I believe. And I believe that I am separate from that. And whenever I recognize that, then I understand that the answer is already given. And the answer is, you're not separated. I am not, you're not, none of us are. It's only whenever we believe we are separate from one another that we we attack ourselves with our thoughts. We attack each other, which is really just another way of saying we attack ourselves. We are doing it all to ourselves unknowingly, and this information is very simple, so simple that it's kind of hard to explain, and the course does a very good job of explaining it. But even these words can be misinterpreted by somebody who is wearing brown tinted shades, so just keep that in mind. Then try to suspend all judgment about what the problem is. If possible, close your eyes for a moment and ask what it is. You will be heard and you will be answered. Always. Me and you have to be willing to do this work, which we are because we're here right now. Me and you are willing to do this work, and we are willing to release all of the fear that me and you have made, and we are willing to see the real world. Me and you are willing to recognize our problems have already been solved. We are willing to recognize that all our many problems are really one, and it is our sense and belief of separation. And when we understand that we are not separate, then we return to our natural state of mind, which is peace and love and joy. So, this is the end of lesson 79 of A Course in Miracles. We will meet here tomorrow for lesson 80, and may we never be the same.